So the holiday season is nearly upon us. Mariah Carey has woken up from her eternal slumber to belt out the Christmas classics she is known for. Kris Kringle is checking his list and checking it twice to see if you were a naughty or nice person. And of course, video game systems are going to be given this holiday season. Now, when it comes to the Nintendo Switch, I sort of fancy myself to be an expert on the system. I've had it since day one, and we obviously do a lot of Nintendo Switch coverage out there on the channel. But when it comes to the Nintendo Switch itself, a lot of people end up picking up this system. Maybe parents looking for something for their children, or just a more casual gamer, and they're wondering, how can I maximize my Nintendo Switch experience? What other things do I need to pick up, and what other things should I consider alongside of my Nintendo Switch in order to maximize my experience? And that's what today's video is going to be focused on. We're not necessarily going to talk about games, we're just going to talk about the hardware itself, additional things that you'll need, controllers, and things of that nature. So if you're brand new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. But without any further ado, let's talk about the Nintendo Switch and how you can get the most out of your brand new Nintendo Switch system. So more than likely, if you purchased a Nintendo Switch this holiday season, you are already a bit ahead of the cusp when it comes to the actual system itself, because you're not just getting the standard Nintendo Switch. Of course, you're getting a Nintendo Switch console, but beyond that, you're actually getting one of the best games on the system with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which is a fantastic experience. And like I said, we'll do a video a bit later talking about the games I recommend to pick up for your Nintendo Switch, but Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is the best-selling game on the platform for a reason. It's very pick up and play, and it's a lot of fun. Now, included with your Nintendo Switch and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe bundle, you also get a 3-month trial to the Nintendo Switch's online service. And that's something I want to highlight first and foremost, because I honestly feel like if you're picking up a Nintendo Switch, you might as well get the Nintendo Switch's online service. Essentially, what the Nintendo Switch online service allows you to do is play your Nintendo Switch games online. So if you want to compete with your friends, or your children want to compete with their friends, that's the way they're going to have to do it, is via the Nintendo Switch's online service. Now, beyond that, there are benefits to being a Nintendo Switch Online member. Sometimes Nintendo will do various controller releases for the Nintendo Switch for the classic systems that you can purchase by being a Nintendo Switch Online member. There are also free games you can access as well on the Nintendo Switch's online service that you wouldn't be able to otherwise. Games like Tetris 99 or Super Mario Bros. 35 are very fun and addictive games, and these are free via Nintendo Switch's online service. There's also full game downloads that you can access for about a week to check out a game in full and then pick up the game at a discounted price on the Nintendo Switch's eShop, which I think is a nice thing as well. You also get access to a bunch of NES and Super Nintendo games. Maybe they're games from your childhood, or maybe you want to torture your kids a bit and say, hey, play some of the classics, you know, the games that were actually a lot harder than these modern games are. You could do that. There's a great variety of games that you have access to on there as well. Nintendo is constantly adding more games to the service, and there are rumors that more consoles will also be added to the service as well. So you're really beefing up your game library by having a Nintendo Switch Online account. And of course, you have access to save data in the cloud when you have this account as well, meaning that should anything happen to your Nintendo Switch, you can just simply access the data via the cloud and re-download it on a new system. Now, like I said, you get 3 free months if you picked up the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe bundle, but beyond that, it's only $20 a year. Yes, Nintendo could do more with their Nintendo Switch Online service to sort of keep up with the Joneses when it comes to the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, but for what it is, for the $20 price point, you're getting a decent amount of content and a decent amount of features. The next thing we're going to talk about is yet another very basic thing, but I think it's something very important, and that is a case for your Nintendo Switch. Now, cases come in all different shapes and sizes. There are literally a million different cases that you have access to, but just getting a case in general will give you a bit of better peace of mind when it comes to your Nintendo Switch system. Yes, it is a durable piece of technology. I've had mine since launch day, and there have been many incidences where I'm like, oh God, did I just break it? But no, it can survive a bit of a fall. But if you're traveling a lot, you're bringing your Nintendo Switch with you to various places, a case is definitely an essential thing. But I definitely recommend getting a Nintendo Switch case. Like I said, they come in a million different varieties. You can get backpacks that are designed for your Nintendo Switch, or you could just get a more basic case like this. But protect your investment. Most cases are very cheap as well, so you might as well end up getting a case for your Switch. The next thing you're going to want to get for your Nintendo Switch is something that I feel is essential, especially in 2020 and beyond. Now, on the bottom of your Nintendo Switch where the kickstand is, there's actually a space for an SD card, and this is what we're going to focus on next, is an SD card for your Nintendo Switch. Now, most of these are very, very small. They're actually micro SD cards is what you're going to want to use. But when it comes to being able to download additional games on your Nintendo Switch, you're going to want to get an SD card. The Nintendo Switch does have a built-in memory of about 32 gigs, which you have about 29 to 30 gigs of access to, but that will fill up very quickly if you end up buying games on the Nintendo Switch's eShop, or if you're buying third-party games that require a mandatory download. Some third-party games actually require a micro SD card in order just to put them on there, meaning that the patch that it has to download onto your Nintendo Switch is larger than the internal memory to begin with. Personally, I recommend just something around the 256 gigabyte range. Now, that might sound like it's going to cost you a lot of money, but honestly, it doesn't. SanDisk has the 256 gig micro SD card that you can pick up for commonly $35 or less on Amazon. Now, you might go into a GameStop and see a lot of Nintendo branded micro SD cards that are done by SanDisk, and they're a little bit more expensive. And to me, you're just paying for branding with this. You're paying for that little Nintendo logo on there. I would forego those and just pick up a standard SanDisk card off of a place like Amazon or Walmart's website. Now, you might go on eBay and notice that there's a lot of larger cards that you could get for a fraction of the price of the SanDisk cards, and you would think that, well, memory is memory, so what's the difference? But there is a substantial difference with those cards because a lot of them are just phony. And what ends up happening is you get the card and you quickly realize you don't have access to nearly the amount of space that you thought you were going to have with these knockoff SD cards. For me personally, I just stick with SanDisk. There are various types of SanDisk cards that do reading and writing a little bit faster, but if you're just a common Nintendo Switch player, you're just looking for something to increase the amount of room you have on your Nintendo Switch, a standard SanDisk card coming in at about 256 gigabytes will last you for a very long time. And like I said, you can commonly get these for $35 or under. Just beware of the fakes and avoid those Nintendo branded ones as well. And of course, when you have a brand new system, you're gonna want to have a way to control the system. Now, your standard Nintendo Switch will come with 2 Joy-Cons. So if you're looking for multiplayer action out of the box, you can do that. But looking at the Joy-Cons, you'll quickly realize something very soon. In order to play as an individual player, you gotta put it to the side, and really, unless you have small baby hands, it's not going to be the most comfortable experience for you. It does work in a pinch, but you might want something a little bit better than that. Plus, the Joy-Cons themselves are prone to something called Joy-Con drift through prolonged use of these things. Basically, the controller just gets a mind of its own, and one of the analog sticks will start drifting on its own, and it could be a very cumbersome experience. Now, when it comes to actual controllers for playing the Nintendo Switch on your television mode, you have a bunch of different options, but I just want to highlight 2 that I find to be the best options. The first one, if you're looking for a premium controller, something that's no nonsense, something that will last you for a very long time, you have the Nintendo Switch Pro controller. Now, if you're a longtime viewer of this channel, you would know that I was definitely on the fence about the Nintendo Switch Pro controller because it is a premium controller. The MSRP on it is about $70. You could sometimes find it for $50 to $60, but I thought, what is so great about this controller that it comes in at a premium price? There's nothing wrong with using a Joy-Con, until I ended up getting a Pro controller, and my life has just changed from it. You get 40 plus hours of battery life on a single full charge on this thing. It has all of the features that the Nintendo Switch offers, such as amiibo support, gyroscope, and rumble, and it's just a fantastic and well-built controller. It feels great in your hands, it feels great when you're playing video games. The analog sticks are very smooth. I even like the D-pad, even though a lot of people don't like the D-pad. So if you're looking for a premium option, this is definitely the way to go. But maybe you want to save a little bit of money. Maybe you're not looking to spend, $60. Well, there are all alternatives out there that I definitely recommend. I actually have a Super Mario themed controller from them that I actually really like, but I don't know where it is right now, so I'm going to use some B-roll footage from a previous video where I unboxed this and started checking it out. But for the longest time, I actually used that controller in lieu of the Pro controller because it was what I had and I thought it did a great job for what it did. So if you're wanting to play multiplayer experiences on your Nintendo Switch, these little Joy-Cons will sort of work, but if you want something a bit more comfortable, you're definitely going to want to upgrade to either a Power A controller or a Nintendo Switch Pro controller. Now, if you're like me, you might play your Nintendo Switch a lot in handheld mode. And of course, the Joy-Cons do work in handheld mode attached to the Nintendo Switch system. But there's a company called Hori who makes something that I feel is the most important product we're talking about in this video, and that is this Hori pad for your Nintendo Switch when playing in handheld mode. This is an absolute game changer. I don't think I could personally go back to using the Joy-Cons in handheld mode because this is just so much more comfortable. Yes, it does lack a few of the features that the HD rumble and all that stuff that's available in the Nintendo Switch Joy-Con has, but the comfort level you have when you're actually playing your games is beyond beautiful when using this. It feels great in your hands. The triggers themselves all feel very nice. The analog sticks are fantastic on it. You can actually program some buttons on the back of the controller as well if you want some hotkeys. It's just very well done and very, very comfortable. It definitely feels a lot better in your hand than something like the standard Nintendo Switch Joy-Con does. Now, this is a substantial upgrade to your Nintendo Switch that will cost you a premium price of about $50. But if you plan on playing your Nintendo Switch a lot in handheld mode and you're afraid that you're going to get cramping and stuff from the Joy-Cons, I definitely recommend the Hori gamepad for the Nintendo Switch because it just feels so much better when you're playing in handheld mode. Alright, so those are some tips to get the most out of your brand new Nintendo Switch this holiday season. Obviously, if you're a longtime viewer of this channel, this is all stuff that you're probably well aware of, but I was designing this video in mind with people like parents or grandparents or the more casual gamer who doesn't really know that much about video games, doesn't know that much about technology, and is looking for some ideas to increase their experience with the Nintendo Switch console. So if you're a single MILF or something like that, buying it for her son and you need some, additional details or something, my DMs are open on Twitter. You can look in the description box down below to hit me up. You know what's funny? I actually had that joke at the start of the video, but I thought, I don't think that's gonna work for the audience that I'm trying to attract with this video. So let me throw it at the end so that the longtime viewers and the diehard fans, who watch everything, will at least get a little chuckle out of that. So yeah, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys learned something, and I hope you guys got a little bit more enlightened when it comes to the Nintendo Switch. So let me know in the comments section down below what you think of my recommendations. If you have any recommendations of your own, feel free to share them in the comments section down below and help out your fellow man. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Be sure to check out other videos on the channel as well. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.